Hello, everybody. My name is Robert Farrago. I run the website called thetruthaboutguns.com. We started 3 years ago on February with 0 views and 0 unique visitors. As of about 10 minutes ago, we have 800,000 visitors per month, and we get about 3 million page views. And we did that simply by doing one thing, putting out content. Now, the topic here is breaking the stranglehold of the media. Well, I've got good news and I've got bad news. The good news is that there is no stranglehold on the media anymore. It doesn't exist. It's gone. Everybody hold up your phone. Everybody's got a phone. Hold one up. Everybody. Okay? Now, how many people, keep it held up if you Twitter, if you send out tweets. Hold it up if you sent out a Twitter in the last 30 minutes. Hold out a phone if you did in the last 5 minutes. Hey, there's one guy. All right. With one hand. That's pretty good. And he's tweeting now. We have in our hands the technology, the capability of putting out the information that we need to get our Second Amendment rights back to where we used to have them before there was a mainstream media. Before information became industrialized, we had the right to keep and bear arms without infringement. There was no responsible or reasonable regulations upon it. I heard Mark O'Mara talk about how the Second Amendment has already been modified and how we now have reasonable Second Amendment. Well, I don't accept that. I don't accept that, and I don't think anybody in this room should accept that. We have the right to keep and bear arms, and we have to remind people of that right all the time. And if you out there, all of you, want to break this so-called stranglehold, what you have to do is remind them all the time. The key to our success as a website is the same success that you can have getting this message out there and creating this culture, this gun culture we need. And that is you have to put out lots and lots of content. You have to be dedicated to providing this information to people all the time. We post 14 times a day. Every hour from 8 o'clock till 8 p.m., we put out a major post. We put out more information in one day than a gun magazine does in a month. Now, some of you may remember when there wasn't an internet. I don't know, a few of you look just about old enough to remember, right? Some of you have big stacks of books in front of you. You remember when that was how information was communicated, when it took a year to get a book published, if you were lucky. All of you have the power now to put information out there, to get the people who aren't in this room motivated and interested and activated. You have that power and you need to use it. And I would say that the key to doing that is Twitter is a great place. Facebook is okay, but blogging, which is where I have taken my efforts in my campaign, is something all of you can do. If you know, WordPress is free. The software is free. It's an unimaginable leap from when I was a kid, when we had to rely on encyclopedias to get our information. Anybody remember encyclopedias? Yeah? You get like the letter A one month and B the next month, and some group of doctors in some university would decide what was right and what was true. We have on our side the truth. John Lott is up here. He tells the truth. He tells you, we have on our side reason and logic. And we have to put that out there for people so that they can embrace it. Because if they see the truth, if they think about it, they will make the right choices at the ballot box. But even more than that, there will be a culture of gun ownership in this country that there used to be. That gun culture was destroyed and obliterated by forces that I would say are evil. I'm just going to come out and say it. The people who are for the gun control, who disarm innocent people and disarm our society, are people who are unleashing great evil upon this world. I'm not religious, by the way. I don't mean to use biblical terminology, but you need only look down in Mexico to see what happens when you disarm a people. You need to look down in Venezuela. In fact, you can look anywhere in the world where people are disarmed, and you can see the rise of statism, fascism, tyranny, murder. We are on a mission, all of us in this room, and we must use the tools that we have, the best tools that we have, and those tools are accessible to all of us now. And that is a huge blessing. Blog, tweet, communicate regularly and often. Even if you think you have nothing to say, put it out there. Our success proves that what you need to do is generate content a lot. You can't think too much. You've got to be able to react to what's going on and get the message out there fast and frequently. And that's all I've got to say. If you want to, the stranglehold is broken. They've got a chokehold on a number of people. We may have to write off millions of people who get their information from what? CBS News? CNN? The New York Times? Are there people who really believe that that's the truth? That they're getting the real deal from Brian Williams? I mean, it's inconceivable. Even people like, even on the other side, people who look at Bill O'Reilly and say, this is the truth. Has anyone heard the nonsense coming out of that man's mouth when it comes to guns? How do you cure nonsense? You tell the truth. You tell the truth as compellingly, as frequently, and as passionately as you can. And I know you guys are doing that. And I want to urge you to continue, but embrace those tools of the internet because they will do what we are doing now. They will help us to win this fight, to reclaim our rights. Thank you.
I'd like to thank the sponsors for this venue. My name is Bob Harvey. I'm the host of the Bullseye Radio Talk Show. I am the owner and chief instructor of South Florida Gun School. I'm an NRA training counselor. I am a veteran Marine primary marksmanship instructor. I want to thank everyone here for attending to support our Second Amendment rights in these trying times. I'm a veteran and a patriot, but I have a concern about where our country's going. It's not the world that I grew up in. Guns were a household item. I blame part of this on mainstream media. Make no mistake about it. Mainstream media is not a friend of your Second Amendment rights. You know, during such tragedies as Columbine, the Gifford shooting, Aurora, mainstream media gives whole front pages to this type of affair. They give 5 minutes, 10 minutes on the air, on television. Let one law-abiding citizen defend his home or his family. You might get a 1-inch print in the back of the paper. You might get 10 seconds on that television station or on the radio. You know, in 35 years as a firearms instructor, I actually thought I knew something about guns. It wasn't until I started reading the paper and television that I realized I knew nothing. Let me tell you what I have learned by reading the newspaper and watching television. What I have learned is that it's okay to shoot without question. What I have learned is that all long guns are AK-47 assault rifles. What I have learned is that every Glock pistol is a cop killer. What I have learned is that every hollow point bullet is a law enforcement killer. Also, I've learned that semi-automatic pistols are all automatics. I also learned that guns kill. And you know, when I read that, I kind of went, if that's true, then that gun collection that I have at the house, all 40 of them are faulty. Because mine hasn't killed anybody. So to cut to the chase, you're probably sitting there wondering how we can break that grasp that mainstream media puts on us. It's real simple. I have a threefold plan for you. First and foremost, educate. Educate yourself on guns and gun rights, firearms and firearms training, firearms safety, gun laws, both on a federal level and your local level. Educate your friends, your family, your acquaintances. Firearms abuse and accidents. Give the mainstream media fodder to fan the flames of their attacks and deceptions. Second, get involved. Get involved in organizations. Second Amendment Foundation, who's helping sponsor this. The National Rifle Association. Gun Owners of America. And there are hundreds out there like them. Your local grassroots organizations, such as we have here in Florida, Florida Carry. Those guys do an unbelievable job. They can't do it alone. They need your money, and they need your volunteer time. The third thing, support your pro-gun media. I have a show that makes no money. It's been on since January. We support Second Amendment rights. Now, how do you support them? There's several ways. The first thing that you do is you call into that show. Give them local information that's happening in your neighborhood. Let us know when there's a law-abiding citizen that uses a gun in self-defense. Call in when the press deceives. We want to know about it. We can't put it on the air without your help. Email us with tips. And of course, we can always use you as sponsors when you have a few dollars. Tell your friends and family and acquaintances about these Second Amendment shows. They can't get educated without knowing where to go. Last but not least, when confronted in your community with the lies, misstatements, and deceptions, correct those right on the spot. How many of you have ever had somebody say, oh, this guy, they were killed with an automatic? What did you say? Did you tell them that those automatics have been banned except for Class 3 dealers and Class 3 owners since the 40s? Correct the lies and misstatements. Do not let them pass. I want to thank you folks for coming.
Hi, my name is Freddie Reel, and I'm the editor for AmmoLand Shooting Sports News. No, we don't sell ammo. What we do is we push positive gun news into places where traditional media typically didn't. A lot of people talk about what is traditional media. Maybe we need to qualify that. And traditional media is for what most of you guys think it is. It's CNN, it's Fox News, it's Newsweek, it's folks like that. The question is, what is social media? Or I like to call it people media. People media is YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, your own blog, your letter to the editor. It's all those kinds of things where you interact with people day to day. Social media or news today is more of a social experience. People work together to get their news in different locations. And that's interesting for us because we see people going out to get their news from newsletters. They don't get it all from TV. They get it from Facebook. They're finding their news in those places. Amaland kind of stands across that middle ground. We do some traditional media type things where we echo their same story. We also carry a lot of just pure social media, YouTube, stuff like that. And we push it out to a massive audience that's comparable to what some of the smaller magazines are getting, that traditional magazine. The idea of people media has injected a vitality and competition into news because people media are seeing increased diversity of news and viewpoints. And that's really important because what's our biggest problem today? We all talk about how the mainstream media is biased, or how it doesn't report the whole story. And again, the positivity of people media is that you guys see the truth. You report the truth. And one of the points that Robert was making, honesty is a super important thing there. The more that you report or that you write or even tweet about something in an honest way, it just reinforces those points over and over again. So that's an important thing for all the organizations here to focus on that because you've got the facts behind you. You guys all know that. We all know mainstream media has its own agenda. I mean, that's clearly obvious. But social media has its own agenda too, and that's a positive thing. We can push, in our case, it's the Second Amendment is our agenda, and we can report on that. And the important thing there is, you were talking about with the volume of it, the amount of it that you do. By us doing that multiple reporting, multiple tweeting, we push down the mainstream media's space in there. We don't give them the same kind of room that they had before. One thing about mainstream media is they rarely pick up the news that we're talking about. They have back to their own agenda. They keep talking about that stuff over and over. If you put on cable TV, or cable TV news channel, and listen to it all day, you'll hear that same story 20 times. But the cool thing about social media or people media is that we're quicker, we move faster, we get on the topic sooner. And that's a good thing for gun rights organizations because you can get out ahead of the story through your people and through your posts and get the truth of what's happening out there earlier. One of the topics that influence people the most and that they have the most gravity to, that they watch the most, and that's the topic is that the staying power of that story. When they have that story that you really like, those things all revolve around personal rights and cultural norms. And a lot of times the top stories in social media happen to be gay rights or firearm news. Talking about gun rights is always something that has a lot of people's interest. You know what I mean? It really gets retweeted, it gets reposted, it gets written on YouTube, and you guys can do that from the comfort of your house or from your cell phone. You can push that out there, and those stories get repeated over and over again if they hit on those important points about how it affects you as a person. The cool thing is, people say, oh, journalism doesn't exist anymore. We know for a fact that there's people right in this room that are true journalists, and they have an audience of their own. They're not relying on CNN or somebody to pay their salary. They're out there doing it themselves, and we're reading it. You know what I mean? So once they get that audience, they have an ability to maintain that journalism, to continue to be real journalists. And that's really exciting to see because journalism is in a weird place right now. It's transitioning from something where you were paid to be a journalist all day long to now where you're in this nebulous business of trying to do journalism and not really getting money for you. I mean, you have to go out there and get this big audience, and that translates into more positive social people news. There was a time when mainstream media could lay claim to the fact that they were better at standing up to big institutions like government. And today that's no longer the case. We see it very clearly that the movement of social media goes after, let's say the banks is going to add more ATM fees. We saw that there was a big backlash in social media, people media, you folks on your cell phones, tweeting over and over again how this is a lousy idea. I don't like that. We've seen it on larger scale with things like Arab Spring. That was all powered by Twitter. What we haven't seen, though, is that kind of Arab Spring in the United States. So hopefully this election coming up could be that Arab Spring for us, where we go completely against what the mainstream media has been claiming that is the facts all along, So I'd like to see that. traditional mainstream media is no longer the gatekeeper for accountability. And that's really important because that goes directly to the problem with Fast and Furious. Nobody in mainstream media is out there holding their feet to the fire about what the facts of what actually happened. But the advantages now come to us, come to social media and people media. We are now the new people to step out there and hold their feet to the fire, to hold them accountable for what's happening. So, thanks for your today.
Hello, my name is Mark Vanderberg, and I am the founder. I started the Gun Rights Radio Network. I was able a chance today to meet quite a few listeners to the network, and I hope to expose the rest of you to the network. But just to start, how many people here today is the first gun rights policy conference you've ever been to? So show of hands. Great. Because I know the first conference I've been to, it was probably 4 or 5 I've been to now, and it was in 2001 after 9/11. And they didn't know how many people were actually going to be able to show up to the conference. Well, quite a few people did, and I admire a lot of the authors that come to the conference, and I read a lot. I read a lot of their books. And it was an opportunity for me this was down in Fort Mitchell, Kentucky, to be able to get these authors to sign their books. So I actually, not only the stack of books that you receive here on the table, but I had brought several stacks of my own. And so I was chasing authors down as they were coming off stage. And David Kopel actually had a toothache that time, and he was in a hurry to get out of here. And I was so excited to get his autograph that I almost ran up on stage to get his autograph first. And he coaxed me off to the side so we could do that, and then he was out of here because I heard he was leaving right away. So what I'm trying to say is, this is being here for the first time. I'm hoping that this will inspire you to get more involved than you have in the past. Now, being for the first time being down here in Florida, you get an opportunity to come to the conference and see all the other people that are here. But a question that I'd asked in several conferences ago was, when I was sitting out there asking a question to the panel, was, how do we change all these gray hairs out here to more darker hair? How do we get young people involved? And I don't remember exactly what the answer was, but I think technology. I know a lot of us are using it. If you got gray hair, my hair is starting to turn gray, and I've been doing this long enough. But technology is the way that we get younger people involved. My kids have all grown up with it. It's no big deal. Pick up a cell phone. They pick up any cell phone. They know how to operate it. They sit down at any computer. It doesn't matter if it's a Mac or a Linux or Windows. They know how to work it. And so we need to reach them on a way. And so to do that, with technology is, we were talking here earlier, the prior speakers, blogs, video, podcasts. Does anybody know what a podcast is? I haven't mentioned it already, but so there's a few hands. So really it's just radio, audio that's on demand. When you want it, you can get it. And I'm not going to get into all the technical stuff. Anybody wants to talk about podcast or anything later, I'll be around. But it's just be able to subscribe to a show. There's tons of them out there, and you're able to listen to them. And so in 2006, inspired from being here, inspired from all of everybody I was seeing here and what they were doing, I decided to do a podcast because I was looking for something, whether it was I was going to do something technical, and everybody was doing tech podcasts. So what was my other interest? And my other interest was, as a former election volunteer coordinator for the NRA, I wanted to be able to do something that I could protect the Second Amendment. And so I went out there and started a podcast, which then I started encouraging other people, and it was the Gun Rights Advocates podcast. And I started encouraging other people to do podcasts, which I'd like to encourage all of you to do today if you got something to say, or if you'd like to be a guest on a podcast. And then in 2008, we started what is the Gun Rights Radio Network. It's a network of podcasters that we are able to cross-promote. We share resources, and it's a way that we can get information out quickly. Now the bloggers can do that, and sometimes we have bloggers as guests on some of the shows. Some of the podcasters actually blog a little bit. The Politics and Gun host is here today. Paul Lathrop is one of our newest podcasters sitting in the back. He does a great show that's politics and guns, and it's a way to reach the younger population. I know we get emails all the time from people that say, thank you so much. You've taken that 2-hour commute that I have and made it better, because now I have some content to listen to either on your smartphone, if you've got a tablet, iPhones, whatever. Today it's even easier. There's a program out there for most of your smartphones and tablets called Stitcher Smart Radio, and you can download that. And the Gun Rights Radio Network is under Sources, and you'll see the Gun Rights Radio Network and all the podcasts that are available on there. Or you could just go to our website. It's not just about the Gun Rights Radio Network, though. There's a lot of good podcasts out there that you could listen to on our network or not. But I just want to, before my time's about ready to run out here, but there's this card for the Gun Rights Radio Network, and it lists all the shows here. And if you get a chance, I have some back there on the table. There's some on a promotional table out in front. And just take a chance, pick it up. There's also a little address on the front. You get a chance to win a free training session this year with Masada Ayub. He's a big supporter of it, and he does a podcast called the Pro Arms Podcast. I also do a podcast. It's a live show, so we record it live, and then we put it out as a podcast later, so you can listen to it later. It's called the Barstool Discussion, and it's really just a couple guys that we sometimes interview people, and sometimes we just discuss guns, hardware, and gun rights, stories of the day. And it's a story like we're sitting in a bar and we're actually drinking adult beverages when we do the show. But it's a real good interactive show. If you just like to listen in to a couple guys talk about guns and talk a little bit about what we're drinking. So I'm going to end it. My time's up. But the way I end every one of my Gun Rights Advocates podcasts is, it's not about guns. It's about freedom.
I would like to thank our speakers, and I would like to say that we had 2 first-time speakers, and I think they all did a very good job.